To answer this, it takes an understanding of how economic power collided with circumstance, and whether the group can overcome some big hurdles. But first, the acronym BRIC was coined in 2001 by Jim O'Neill, who at the time was an economist with Goldman Sachs.
I thought it was quite clear that so-called emerging markets were going to become more important to businesses.
In 2025, the financial world is shifting quietly but decisively. One headline is now echoing through Wall Street, Beijing, Mumbai, and beyond. Russia has officially become the first BRICS country to back replacing the US dollar for all trade and transactions, at least in policy and intent. It's not just talk anymore. The global financial order may be at the beginning of its most serious shakeup in decades. Let's break down what this means and where it's heading. Why Russia moved first. Russia wasn't waiting for permission. After years of being hammered by US sanctions, particularly because of the Ukraine conflict, the Kremlin had little choice but to find another way to engage with the global economy. Cutting off Russia from the dollar meant cutting off Moscow from most international transactions. SWIFT was closed to them. US dollar reserves were frozen, banks collapsed, imports vanished. But instead of folding, Russia started building. In 2024, while BRICS leaders from countries like India, Brazil, and China offered carefully worded statements criticizing US dollar dominance, only Russia stepped forward with an official endorsement to completely replace the dollar in all cross-border trade. The announcement didn't come from a press event. It was built into policy frameworks, trade structures, and financial infrastructure. What about the rest of BRICS? The BRICS alliance, now larger and more ambitious than ever, includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But the club has grown. This coalition now represents more than 40% of the global population, vast reserves of oil, gas, gold, silver, and rare earth metals, and a new model of financial cooperation. But unlike Western alliances, BRICS operates with flexibility. As London Paul from the Sirius Report puts it, BRICS isn't about uniformity. You can have countries like India disagree with something, and that's not a problem. That's why Russia's bold move hasn't created friction, it's created space. Moscow is willing to absorb the pressure, the tariffs, and the market pushback to lead the charge. And now, other BRICS members are watching closely, especially India. US tariffs hit back. India feels the heat. Russia's de-dollarization wasn't the only headline. In a surprise but pointed move, President Donald Trump, who returned to office in January 2025, imposed 25% tariffs on Indian exports, a direct penalty tied to New Delhi's continued oil trade with Russia.
The group of emerging economies known as BRICS makes up more than 40% of the world's population and a quarter of the global economy. And more countries want to join the club, which aims to challenge a world order seen to be dominated by the US and its Western allies. But what exactly is BRICS? Who wants in? And why? Underscoring the growth potential of Brazil, Russia, India, and China, a chief economist at Goldman Sachs came up with the BRIC acronym in 2001.
The message was clear: follow Moscow, and you pay a price. India has always played the balancing act, buying discounted Russian oil while still maintaining relations with Washington. But Trump's tariff hammer may have shattered that middle ground. Not only does it create new stress in India-US trade, but it also puts BRICS unity to the test. Will India now double down on local currency settlements within BRICS, or will New Delhi retreat under pressure? The stakes couldn't be higher. India is set to assume the BRICS presidency in 2026, and it has already shared its strategic direction with Russia and China, both of whom reportedly responded positively. If India leans toward Moscow's approach, the dollar's dominance may begin to erode at a much faster pace. Local currency settlements. While a single BRICS currency still feels years away, local currency trade is exploding across member nations. Take China and Russia, for example. They now conduct almost 100% of their bilateral trade in rubles and yuan. No dollars involved. Some analysts claim China is allowing select yuan trades to be backed or settled in gold. By the end of 2024, 45% of China's global trade was being settled in yuan, more than double its 2022 level. And it's not just Russia. China is pushing for yuan-based trade with Brazil, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and even Argentina. This isn't theoretical, it's happening, quietly, consistently. And it's backed by one of the most important systems in global finance that you've probably never heard of: CIPS, the silent killer of SWIFT. CIPS, the cross-border interbank payment system developed by China, is turning into a juggernaut. It's Beijing's answer to SWIFT, the Western messaging system that handles most dollar-based transactions. And it's growing fast. In 2024, CIPS facilitated cross-border transactions totaling 175 billion yuan, around $24.5 trillion. That's a 43% increase over 2023, and the number of connected banks jumped from around 3,000 to 4,900 institutions, now spanning over 150 countries. This is no longer a Chinese experiment, it's a real competitor. And for any BRICS nation fearing US sanctions or asset seizures, CIPS offers a safer route. When you consider the $17 trillion CIPS processed in 2023, it becomes clear the system is scaling at a pace even most financial analysts didn't anticipate. While CIPS is growing, SWIFT still handles the majority of global settlements, especially among Western and G7 nations. Is a unified BRICS currency coming? Not anytime soon. And that's intentional. There's been endless speculation about a BRICS coin or a new gold-backed global currency. But the leadership inside the bloc is playing a longer game. According to London Paul, the focus right now is not on creating a single currency, but on enabling seamless local currency trade. They don't want to replicate the mistakes of the euro, where vastly different economies were bound by one monetary policy. Greece and Germany were forced into the same economic mold, and the cracks were obvious. BRICS isn't rushing. It's building the infrastructure first: digital settlement systems, common pricing benchmarks, and interoperable financial tools. If a unified currency ever emerges, it will only come after these foundations are strong. For now, bilateral trade in national currencies is not just safer, it's smarter. Gold, the quiet power behind BRICS finance. Forget crypto hype. In 2025, gold is king, especially in the BRICS world. Russia is the second largest gold producer globally, just after China, and both countries have been massively increasing their gold reserves for years. China is reportedly allowing the yuan to be fully convertible to gold in international trade. That's not a gimmick, that's a real backing strategy. Russia has taken it further. Silver has been quietly added to its list of strategic reserves, acknowledging not just its monetary value, but its industrial importance in energy, tech, and medicine. This isn't symbolic, it's structural. New trading platforms like the St. Petersburg International Mercantile Exchange are working to break away from London and New York's price control over gold. In parallel, the Shanghai Gold Exchange demands physical metal backing for every contract, unlike the paper-heavy Western markets. Add in the new gold vaults popping up across BRICS countries, and a clear picture forms. The physical metals are moving east, and so is the power that comes with them. Silver's rising status. Silver is no longer just the poor man's gold, it's becoming strategic wealth in the BRICS world. Demand is skyrocketing. On July 11, 2025, Andrew Maguire argues that there is a 92-cent premium on COMEX silver, translating to $4,600 per contract. Even weeks later, the premium held at 40 cents, with silver nearing $40 an ounce. That's not speculation, that's stress in the physical market. London Paul says global shortages of physical silver are now irrefutable, backed by hard data. This pressure signals something deeper. Paper silver prices no longer reflect real-world scarcity. It's no surprise that Russia is hoarding silver alongside gold. It's not just about diversification, it's about building physical asset power that can't be manipulated by digital systems in London or New York. What happened at the 2024 BRICS Rio Summit? The 16th BRICS Summit, held in Kazan, Russia, from October 22nd to 24th, 2024, saw significant decisions that, while perhaps not dominating Western headlines, indicate a profound shift in global financial and geopolitical landscapes. Major decisions were made behind closed doors. According to metals analyst Andrew Maguire, BRICS is now working on the tokenization of real-world assets for trade. That means digitized gold, oil, or infrastructure-backed financial instruments not tied to the dollar or Western banks. The New Development Bank, BRICS's answer to the IMF, announced plans to expand its role, offering massive infrastructure loans with guarantees that bypass World Bank conditions. This gives developing nations an alternative source of funding, one that doesn't demand economic restructuring or political compliance. Also on the agenda, cross-border payment systems that bypass SWIFT entirely. These mechanisms are essential to future-proofing BRICS from geopolitical shocks, and by keeping the messaging quiet, the alliance is advancing without inviting immediate resistance. The end of dollar hegemony. The world isn't flipping a switch from the dollar overnight, but it is slowly dimming the light. London Paul suggests that the dollar-based empire is rapidly coming to an end, reflecting growing dissatisfaction with fiat-based systems. That's a bold prediction, not shared by all economists, but one increasingly echoed in BRICS discussions. In the new system, multiple reserve currencies will coexist, trade routes will be regionalized, and asset-backed currencies, whether gold, silver, or digitized resources, will begin to replace debt-based financial systems. In this new era, the dollar may still be important, but it won't be untouchable, and it won't be the only game in town. BRICS is fighting itself. And behind the speeches and smiles at the Rio 2025 summit, something deeper was breaking down. While the summit focused on unity and a shared economic future, the truth was clear. BRICS is divided. India and China, two of its most powerful economies, are still locked in strategic and political competition. They don't trust each other, and that distrust bleeds into every financial discussion, especially over a common currency. This isn't just personal rivalry, it's economics. Brazil, India, and China all depend on exporting to the US. They make billions of dollars in trade every year, far more than what they exchange with each other. Replacing the dollar would mean risking that revenue. That's not something these economies are ready to do, no matter what they say in public. And while Russia calls to ditch the dollar, its own actions show the cost. Sanctions have crushed parts of its economy. The rest of BRICS sees that, and it scares them. Some economists warn that replacing the dollar too quickly could create inflation, foreign reserve volatility, and trade imbalances within BRICS nations. What's next for BRICS and the dollar? Russia's bold step could trigger a cascade. If India, as 2026 BRICS president, leans into Russia's model, others may follow, especially those already settling trade in yuan or rupees. CIPS will continue to expand. Gold and silver will flow into vaults in Shanghai, Dubai, and Moscow. And more deals will be priced in non-dollar terms. The world won't look the same, but here's the real question. Will the US adapt or try to fight the inevitable? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Would you survive in a post-dollar economy? Is BRICS building a better system or just a different empire? The future of money is unfolding. Disclaimer: this video is for educational commentary purposes. Data presented reflects publicly available sources as of 2025.